Thank you for hosting, Celia. My name is Anthony Ellie. I believe we all know each other. We've met at least once or twice. And I am serving as assistant director for the center. It's a volunteer role. My 9 to 5 is a CPA specializing in international taxes. 9 to 5 may be a little too nice. It's more like 9 to 7 perhaps on average. But I've been volunteering here for the past almost 5 years now. And I'm a fellow student, like many of you, practicing, working on this. And that reminds me what Don said last week. We think that our journey is like this, but it's a little all over the place. But hopefully over time, you progress steadily. So for the next 2 weeks, we're going to focus on a few foundational meditation practices and review some basics, because it's always helpful for not only beginners but also for experienced practitioners to return to some things. And most of these meditations will be based on a book called How to Meditate by Kathleen McDonald. And we tend to have snap judgments of things when we hear things, and it's just how we've been programmed. But you think it sounds like almost like a very basic book, but actually if you're looking to learn more about Tibetan Buddhism, I highly recommend it, because it goes over stabilizing meditations, analytical and visual. And I think there's about maybe 20 different meditations within that book. So something I found very helpful when I was starting my practice. Now, before we start with the meditations, and I'm going to try to go to 2 or 3 shorter so we could talk, ask any questions, share observations. Really want this to be a relaxed setting where we could perhaps ask questions that we don't typically have time to ask. But before we do that, I'd like to just do a quick icebreaker. If you could just state your name and maybe a meditation practice that you engage in regularly or something that you did recently. So I'll start us off. And over the years, I've done a few different things, but currently, Venerable Tendrin had recommended to me actually to use this book called the Lam Rim Year. So the Lam Rim is this, it's like the graduated path to enlightenment. So it's like an alphabet of all the items you need to do to reach enlightenment. And this book provides it in the format of the 365 days in the year. So every morning I'll read 1 page and I'll meditate on that. So recently the chapters I'm on are bodhicitta, so that compassionate wish to attain enlightenment for the sake of helping all beings. So that's what I've been working on lately. Cecilia, would you like to share some meditation you've done recently or something you do regularly?
Regularly. Ooh, that's a big word. That's what I'm here. No, I do not do it regularly. So that's what I'm here, because I do understand the need of it, but I also, Venerable Tendron told me to do it while I walk or run, and that has helped me. I'm kind of an active person, so I find it very difficult to sit down. So that works for me when I walk and just be relaxed about it. Even that is meditation when I can do it when I'm walking or running. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's interesting because I think that your active disposition has helped the center significantly as well, because you're able to be on top of things. Melissa, are you present? Would you like to share meditation you've done recently, or maybe something you do regularly? Oh, you're on mute currently.
Good morning. I've been doing the Lam Rim book as well, and there's a daily wisdom of Dalai Lama I use with that as well. And then sometimes I just sit or do walking meditation.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, the Dalai Lama's wisdom, it's amazing. The book, the audio book for that he did with the Archbishop Desmond Tutu.
I've read it. Yeah, that is really good, isn't it?
So inspirational. Yeah. Steve, would you like to share?
Yes, there's one thing I read in the book, Meditation is the Key to Happiness, which is a very simple idea, but if you put it to use, it's very helpful. It is being aware of being aware. So as you're perhaps scanning the body, and you're just thinking about being aware that you are aware of scanning the body, and just that extra awareness makes a big difference if you apply that to a meditation.
Yeah, amazing. It reminds me of something that Venerable Tenjin often says, like when we're meditating, sometimes we're using the mind to watch the mind.
Yes.
And I think when you recognize that, it's like it becomes like powerful, and it helps you refocus. And so abstract to explain, it's something you always have to try to experience.
Yeah, my name is Phil. I don't do it regularly, but when I meditate at home, it's just kind of paying attention to my posture, my breathing.
Yeah. So Phil was saying that he doesn't do it regularly, but when he does, it's paying attention to his posture and breathing, which is incredibly important. That's what I did for my first few years of meditation as well. And I feel like there was a time where I stopped doing that. I would just try to get straight into like some of the teachings, but that's the foundation, being able to concentrate on something uninterrupted. It's an incredibly important skill. Newton?
My name is Luke D'Souza. I teach at FIU and I'm also chair of program. So in my line of work, there's a lot of planning ahead, and half my life is spent in the future. So for me, the challenge is to how to focus on the present. So I do daily meditation of about 12 minutes. I time myself for 12 minutes every day, because sometimes when I do it longer, I get lost in so many other thoughts. So I just stop it very short. And I just focus on here and now.
Yeah.
Just to be in the present, because I've so many thoughts swirling around. If I can focus on here and now for 10 minutes, I have a better day.
Excellent. Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Newton. So Newton's a teacher at FIU, Florida International University, and he was explaining that he spends his life so focused on the future and planning that what's helpful for him is a 12-minute practice every day on remaining present. And of course, there's some key tips there. It's pretty interesting that he's using a technique. We're all using techniques that are recommended in our tradition. Is also set a specific time, and sometimes it's important if you don't feel comfortable staying too long, or if you notice that you start to lose interest, because you never want to end up associating meditation with discomfort or a bad thing, because then you might stay away from it. 12 minutes is a nice medium. Jack?
Yeah, I'm also using the Lamrim year. It's nice because one of the other things that Venerable Tenjin has said is that if you're doing an analytical meditation, to pick a topic and do it for a month, and that's about seems to be how it's organized. So once you get into a subject, then you do that, and it does like one aspect of it every day. It's like Anthony says, it's like a page and a half, and very, very clear, very helpful. And then you just think about that one aspect for your meditation session, and you come up with new insights just thinking about it. It's so amazing.
Fascinating. So Jack was also sharing Lamrim year, a disciple as well, and mentioning that it is organized in a way that almost like a month is spent on each particular major topic, and it aligns with what Venerable Tenjin recommended in terms of analytical meditations, spending a month on a topic. So the way it works out is actually conducive to learning and really honing in on each specific aspect of that major subject. And last and certainly not least.
My name is Charlie. I'm new to this. I am a nurse, and my schedule is crazy, and I think that's why I'm having a hard time getting into a real practice. So I'm very sporadic. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm up at 4 in the morning. Sometimes I sleep until I don't want to tell you.
Yeah.
It's and I'm here to get ideas of how to go about being more focused on it. Maybe trying to get it into a daily, more of a daily routine. Do I get up at 3:30 instead of 4? Do I do it at night before I go to bed? lot of, ideas here, 12 minutes.
Yeah.
So that sounds like doable to me instead of an hour.
Oh yeah.
Things like that. I would like, I mean, I knew, so I understand that I should probably be focusing on breath. You said you spent the first couple of years on breath, so,
Yeah.
That, centralized focus, maybe that's the best way for me to begin, but I would like to know the spelling of the book you're all referring to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Jenny is a nurse and she has a sporadic schedule. She'll sometimes get home really late, so she's gonna sometimes have a hard time focusing her mind on the present. She's newer to the center, and so she's learning some tips just from being here and us talking that she can implement. So yeah, the book is Lam Rim Year. L is in I'm doing it like I'm on the phone. LAMRIM, one word. So Lam Rim Year. I think it should pop up afterwards. We can confirm that it's the same text that we're talking about.
Anthony, what was the other book you talked about?
Oh, How to Meditate by Kathleen McDonald. Yeah, very highly recommend that one. And so thank you all for sharing, and I think hopefully we all glean some insights. And I've spoken to Jack several times, especially this past year. We've known each other for years, but we don't necessarily always talk about what we're doing for a meditation practice. So it's interesting to hear. Now, with that set in motion, I'd like to start with the first meditation, and I'm going to sort of combine one on the breath. So we'll start with focusing on the breath, calming our minds, and then we'll transition to a meditation on the clarity of the mind. So in Tibetan Buddhism, a lot of emphasis, Buddhism in general, is placed on the mind, and some qualities that they ascribe to it is that it's non-physical, so meaning like it's separate from the brain. Its nature is like clear light, so it's not naturally negative. We can transform it. It's without beginning or end, so that gets into very the philosophy and the big picture Buddhism that there is no beginning or end. You'll need a separate course from a qualified teacher for that. But I'm a facilitator, and then the final quality is that its function is to know. So our mind it's the consciousness. So this meditation will kind of describe that in a way that's in plain English, in a way that you can sort of maybe not necessarily be able to articulate, but at least feel or have a greater feeling for it. So this will be a stabilizing meditation, meaning that we're focusing on a particular object to improve our concentration. And then towards the end, as we think about the mind's nature, somewhat analytical, but in terms of like thinking about the teachings and relating them to our lives. So we sit in the meditation posture. You can be if you're in a cushion, they say ideally is the Vajra position, which each foot on the thigh, but I can't do that, not without some pain. So cross-legged is fine. And then if you're in a chair, that's fine as well. You just want to make sure your feet are firmly planted on the ground, and that your spine is erect no matter where you're sitting. So they use an analogy of a stack of coins. So you wouldn't want it to curve, want it to be straight. Our hands are in our lap with the right over the left hand and the thumbs connected, forming a sort of triangle. Arms are away from the body to ensure you don't get too warm. And your jaw can be slightly relaxed with your tongue up against the palate of your mouth, the roof of your mouth. Now your eyes, a lot of us tend to close them completely, and that's fine. But ideally, if possible, you should try to keep it slightly open with a little light filtering in. Before we dive into meditations, it's helpful to set a motivation. Contemplate the reason why you're doing it. It doesn't have to be super complex, but something that makes sense to you. For this meditation, as we begin, we can think that we're doing this to generate more positive energy, positive attitudes, and less negative ones. Not only for our own benefit, but if we are experiencing more positive attitudes, we could benefit others as well. Now focus your mind on your breathing. You can either do this by focusing on the opening of your nostrils, where you can feel a very subtle sensation as the breath enters and leaves your body. If preferred, though, you can focus on the in and out movement of your abdomen with each breath. Bring your mind back to the place you chose, whether it's your nostrils or your abdomen, every time it wanders away. If you wish, you can count your breaths. You can say to yourself, breathing in, breathing out, 1. Breathing in, breathing out, 2. And so on. See if you can count to 5 or 10. If you get distracted before you make that count, just start again at 1. Inevitably, thoughts will appear and your attention will be distracted by them. But as soon as you realize this has happened, bring your mind back to the breath. We have to learn to develop a neutral attitude toward our thoughts, being neither attracted nor repulsed. In other words, do not react with dislike, worry, excitement, or clinging to any thought, image, or feeling that arises. Merely notice its existence and return your attention to the breath. Even if you have to do this 50 times a minute, don't feel frustrated. Be patient and persistent. Eventually, your thoughts will subside. It may be helpful to think that your mind is like the sky and the thoughts are like clouds. Clouds come and go in the sky. They do not stay long, nor do they alter the natural stillness and spaciousness of the sky. In the same way, thoughts come and go in the clear space of your mind. They are transient, momentary. If you can simply notice them and let them go, bringing your attention again and again to the breath, the thoughts will disappear on their own. Be content to stay in the present. Accept whatever frame of mind you are in and whatever arises in your mind without judging it as good or bad. Be free of expectation, clinging, and frustration. I have no wish to be somewhere else, not to be doing something else or even to feel some other way. Be content just as you are. Hopefully by now our awareness is a bit more sharp than it was at the beginning. So let's turn our attention to the clarity of our consciousness. Its true nature. Your consciousness, or mind, is whatever you are experiencing at the moment. Sensations in your body, thoughts, feelings, perceptions of sounds, and so forth. The nature of each of these experiences is clarity, without form or color, space-like, pure awareness. As we mentioned, you may have thoughts, but they come and go without altering the nature of the mind. Focus your attention on this clear, pure nature of the mind. Initially, it might be difficult to find the actual object, that is, the clarity. If so, meditate on a mental image of clarity. One way to generate such an image is to visualize space. Imagine lying on a hilltop and staring up at a sky that is completely clear and free of clouds. Concentrate on this vast, unobstructed emptiness. Imagine that it flows down and embraces you and your surroundings. Everything becomes empty like space. Hold this experience. Feel that the nature of your mind is like this clear, empty space. As mentioned previously, thoughts and distractions will arise, but do not react to them. Do not follow them, nor reject them. Remember that they are clear by nature, without substance. Simply watch them come and go. Then return to the awareness of the mind's clarity. Do not think about anything during this meditation. There's no need to wonder what the mind is. Simply observe it, its clear nature, which is like infinite empty space. That is sufficient. Be natural. Meditation is simple and natural, nothing special. Concentration means holding the mind on an object continuously without forgetting it. The automatic result of concentration is awareness, which is free of concepts. A light does not need to think I am dispelling darkness. It simply illuminates. Awareness is an inner light that enables us to see things more clearly. It dispels the heaviness of how things appear to us, thus weakening our clinging or aversion to them. As we conclude this meditation, recall the reason that we sat to engage in this practice, to generate more positive states of mind that will benefit not only ourselves but others as well. We can feel good about what we've done, and we don't need to judge the meditation with thoughts such as this was a lousy meditation, my mind was all over the place. We have to remember that just making the effort to meditate is itself very meaningful and beneficial. Now we can dedicate this positive energy that we generated in a way, or hope that it benefits all beings. May everyone be free of problems and unhappiness and be filled instead with peace and joy. When you're ready, you can slowly begin to move the body and open your eyes fully.
Thank you.
You, Jack. I'm good here. Okay. Should be fine with the battery life. And then bring the charger. We have a backup laptop if anything.
Does it have a C?
This will work on anything?
Yeah.
It's amazing. You know, I heard the EU had passed this law requiring like all phones be compatible with this charger.
That's true.
That's amazing.
That's the charging port. It might be an output.
Yeah, it might be an output. In any case. Yeah, it might be. Well, any thoughts or observations with respect to that meditation? Scott, yep.
I have a question.
Mhm.
You started with the motivation, right?
Mm-hmm.
How important is that piece in meditation?
Yeah. So, and you know, I'm thinking back to what teachers will often say is that you see, one of the things is that without it, we may find ourselves.
Anthony,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt. What was the question? We couldn't hear it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So, Newton was asking how important is it to have the motivation? I think what'll happen often is that you start getting into the routine of maybe potentially not valuing it as much, and you're on autopilot, perhaps without that moment to stop and think about, why am I doing this? And another way I think it's helpful to think about motivation is that, Don had mentioned while he was here, is that when you can throughout your day, stop and think about why you're doing something, because we often fall into that autopilot of thinking solely of ourselves, and it's not to judge anyone, but to kind of get into that survival mode. I need to get these emails out. I'm not thinking about the value I'm providing to other people. But when we can stop and think, specifically, I'm going to engage in this activity because of this. You could be more intentional with how you spend your time. That's one way of explaining it. Jack, any thoughts on that? What do you think about motivation?
Well, I think motivation is pretty much the key. If there's all these lists of things you should and shouldn't do, but the whole key to why you're doing anything is why you're doing it. Like even the things that we're not supposed to do, if there's now sometimes you could have a good motivation and it could still end up terrible, but having that good motivation with everything that you do is just a habit that makes makes everything, even if it turns out bad, still
Mhm.
good.
Yeah. So Jack was talking about, motivation gives you your why, and it can help you develop a habit of having a positive intention. And then, as Jack was talking, it reminded me as well. So in Buddhism, we talk about our actions of body, speech, and mind. So our thoughts are actions in Buddhism. Here, in when you think about it from our worldly perspective, we wouldn't think that a thought is an action, right? We know that physical um, movements, and we know that words are actions, but in Buddhism, thoughts are as well. And we recognize the subtlety of that and how it's difficult to address it. So the first things we can do is worry about our actions, right? Well, hopefully none of us here have ever killed someone, or stolen, we can avoid stealing or sexual misconduct. And then the actions of our speech become a little bit more tricky, because we do engage in gossip, and maybe sometimes we do say hurtful things, but then the mind is last as well. So and then when you talk about karma, the idea that cause and effect, and it's a huge picture, bigger than how we describe it when you hear it mentioned in pop culture or in common conversation. But that's a separate module in many of our courses. But karma, this idea that our actions can affect our future effects and future lives. So behind every action you do, the motivation is most important. So they'll often say, the person who's thinking that they're doing this for the benefit of all sentient beings is generating more positive karma than the person who may be giving several million for their name to be placed on a building. So that's another reason why motivation, going a little further into beyond just the meditation session. I hope, does that kind of give you context for it?
That's nice. I never thought about giving the 2 million to have my name on the building. I'll try that one.
Yeah.
A few thousand, you could get your name on a bench.
And Steve was saying he never thought about donating a few million to get his name on a building. Yeah, so maybe I'll give that a try. Jack's saying you can donate a few thousand for your name on a bench. More reasonable goals. Yeah. Okay. All right. So the final meditation I'd like to do today is one on impermanence. So this idea that everything is changing constantly, and I find it so helpful because it's I think it's accessible to people from all backgrounds of practice, but also I find it foundational for other forms of practice as well. Like there's emptiness, for example, which we've mentioned. This concept that all phenomenon don't have an inherent existence, but we tend to ascribe that to them. A very complex subject. Probably, they say that once you realize emptiness, you've accomplished one of the two wings to enlightenment, to becoming a Buddha. So to give you the complexity of how difficult it is to grasp that. But also, impermanence meditation can also form the foundation of a practice on meditating on death, something that we'll all experience. So we'll do this practice on impermanence, and then maybe have for 15 minutes or so, and then 5 minutes for any discussion or questions, and we'll wrap up. Cecilia, Melissa, are you doing okay? Can you hear me? Yeah, next week we'll get that not virtual, but the handheld mic taken care of. Last time I tried using it, wasn't working. Technology karma.
The mic is not working?
The other one, the handheld.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think I fixed it because it might be that there's another switch that I think like that. The one on top is for the portable microphone. Okay, so let's sit comfortably. You need to move your legs a little bit. Oh yeah, that is on. Sit comfortably and relax completely. Take time to be calm and concentrate your thoughts mindfully, observing the breath. When your mind is calm and settled in the present, generate a positive motivation for doing the meditation. For example, you can think, from this meditation, may I help bring about greater peace and happiness for myself and all the beings in my life. Or if you want to be even more ambitious, you can think, may this meditation be a cause for me to become enlightened, so that I can help all beings be free from suffering and dissatisfaction and become enlightened as well. Now let's turn our attention, our awareness, to our bodies. Think of the many different parts: arms, legs, head, skin, blood, bones, nerves, and muscles. Examine them one by one. Probe them with your feelings. Contemplate the nature of these things, their substance, their texture, their shape and size. Be sensitive to the body at work, the movement that is occurring every moment, the ebb and flow of your breath, the beating of your heart, the flow of your blood, and the energy of your nerve impulses. Be aware of your body at even at the even more subtle level of its cellular structure. Think that it is entirely composed of living cells coming into existence, moving about, reproducing, dying, and disintegrating. On an even more subtle level, all the parts of your body are made of molecules, atoms, and subatomic particles, and these are all in constant motion. Try to really get a feeling for the change that is taking place every moment in your body. Now, turn your attention to your mind. It too is composed of many parts, such as thoughts, perceptions, feelings, memories, and images, following one after the other, ceaselessly. Simply observe the ever-changing flow of experiences in your mind, like someone looking out of a window onto a busy street, watching the cars and pedestrians passing by. Don't cling to anything that you see in your mind. Don't judge or make comments, just observe. And try to get a sense of the impermanent, ever-changing nature of your mind. After reflecting on the impermanence of your inner world, your own body and mind, extend your awareness to the outer world. Think about your immediate surroundings, the cushion, mat, the chair you're sitting on, the floor, walls, and windows, and ceiling in the Gampa, the laptop in front of you, the furniture and other objects in your room. Consider that each of these, although appearing solid and static, is actually a mass of tiny particles whizzing around. Then let your awareness travel further out, beyond the walls of your room or this Gampa. Think of other people. Their bodies and minds are also constantly changing, not staying the same for even one moment. The same is true of all living beings, such as animals, birds, and insects. Think of all the inanimate objects in the world and the universe. Homes, buildings, roads, cars, trees, mountains, oceans and rivers, the earth itself, the sun, moon, and the stars. All of these things, being composed of atoms and other minute particles, are constantly changing every moment, every millisecond. Nothing stays the same without changing, despite how it may seem to the naked eye. Concentrate on this experience. Conclude this meditation with the thought that it is unrealistic and self-defeating to cling to things as though they were permanent. Whatever is beautiful and pleasing will change and eventually disappear. So we can't expect it to give us lasting happiness. Also, whatever is unpleasant or disturbing won't last forever. It might even change for the better. So there's no need to be upset or rejected. Recall our motivation, the reason we sat for this practice at the beginning, the reason we even came to the center today. Feel good about spending that time doing this, engaging in that effort, even if it was challenging at times. As mentioned previously, just making the effort counts. We shouldn't judge the quality of the meditation session. And now we dedicate, which we can consider it as hoping that the time we spent manifests itself in success. And that success can be just happiness for ourselves and the people in our lives. Feel free to wake your body slowly as you are ready. Gently open your eyes. Try not to move too suddenly. I read once that you shouldn't get up immediately after the meditation session. You should sit just for a few more seconds. And so, I was at a recruiting event all day for FAU representing my firm. And I took a few turns doing the introduction of the firm, brief overview before introducing the representatives we had and having the students introduce themselves. They were in groups. And by the last session of the day, I'm speaking, and I just blanked. Could not remember what I wanted to say. I did this weird thing where like I gulped, and someone and I just said, "Give me a minute. I need to think of this." And then I continued. And people said, "Oh, you handled that with such tact," but I was slightly embarrassed. I don't want to look back. My firm looked bad, but it did. Impermanence did cross my mind. I said, "Well, I mean, how many times have I done embarrassing things, and do I think about them all the time?" So it's difficult sometimes to try to like take what we learn and apply it, but I think slowly over time we can. So hopefully we can all contemplate ways to do that. Any closing remarks or thoughts anyone would like to share before we conclude?
Guided meditation versus silence. I've seen that, coming here to the center, a lot of it is guided. At home, on my phone, on the computer, there's so many apps where you can get guided meditation. Is that the better way to go, or sit in complete silence?
Sure. So was it Jenny, apologize. So Jenny was asking about guided versus silent meditation and what the best way to handle that is. I think both are acceptable, and I'll go into more detail. But my battery's running low, unfortunately, Cecilia. So let's dedicate and thank you.
Yeah, they might lose us.
Thank you all for being here, Cecilia. Thank you for facilitating, and Melissa, good to see you. And we'll work on even improving this further next week. Take care.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you.
Melissa, appreciate it.